Welcome back to another episode of the Amish Inquisition. The Out of the Blank podcast. The Amish Phil's back. Hi, hey, bud. Your soundboard cut out last minute. That was a weak applause. That's like Steve Harvey now when they applaud him because he's so wear your mask. Everyone's just like, oh, low clap him, golf clap him in.
How you doing, Robbie?
All right, let's not do that today. I love that you're enthusiastic with the soundboard, but I don't know. I don't think we need that.
You've only just woke up. You need a wake up.
I'm trying to. I was spent all day trying to find the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and then next thing you know, no news source is covering it. It's like, oh, it's a federal court case. I'm like, then why have I seen 30 different court cases on TV? And you know what's interesting is there's no coverage on this one. I'm watching an audio live stream to see if, hey, I'm going to see the audio because apparently phone calls are allowed in there. So you're able to call into the conference, but they won't video cast it apparently. So I'm watching this YouTube video oh, he's going to play the phone call on a thing so we can all hear it on YouTube. 10,000 people are watching. He pops up on screen. He goes, well, apparently they changed the code for the courtroom. Sorry guys, I don't have it, but I can read the transcript. Honestly, whenever I go live, I get 5 people. I didn't expect 2,000 something. I was like, no shit. Everyone is trying to find out what the hell's going on with this thing.
Yeah, I thought they had something like court TV. They don't have court TV in America.
They do, but apparently this is an exception to the rules because it's a
of course it is.
It's a federal court case. So apparently in federal court cases, there's no video cameras, no really press is allowed in there. They give you a private number that you can call, but it's very weird because if this doesn't show you the BS with these news networks, I mean, they're also doing the Juicy trial where, you know who I'm talking about, Dave Chappelle's joke about Juicy, the guy who called saying he was attacked by white Nazis or supremacists, and the cops show up to his door and he has a noose hanging around his neck, like he still left it there eating a Subway sandwich.
Right. Did he work for one of the news outlets? Was he
Juicy?
Yeah.
No, he was just
thinking of someone else who staged him getting beaten up.
No, he just was a celebrity trying to get a bunch of people to jump on his progressive flag he's got flying.
Oh God.
Yeah, the world's gone to shit, and apparently it's not.
Chappelle's in trouble for making a joke about him.
No, what? That was a long time ago in his special. Everybody was on his side.
Right. Okay.
But it was his trial is going on today because everyone's like, no, you just fake called the cops on yourself over a fake narrative, and yeah, you're going to be going criminal charges on that. And I'm like, I wonder how many people are going to watch the Ghislaine Maxwell trial or the Juicy trial. Then I realized, wait a minute, they won't even let you see the Ghislaine trial. I'm like, damn it, I want to see Bill Gates in the courtroom in his formal sweater with his fingers crossed, being like, don't say my name, bitch. Don't say my name. Like, that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so many powerful people involved in this whole escapade. I presume they're journalists are allowed in there, are they, to report on it? Otherwise, how would we find out anything?
Yeah, but the only footage they got is courtroom sketches, like the old, what is it? Whatever those icograph things are, where the people used to cartoon animate and all that. That's the only sketches they got. I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't make any sense. Mostly people need video when they watch a show now. If it's just audio only, it's probably because they're driving or something. So that's okay to listen to if it's talk radio. I don't know, man. I think this is just anarchy now. Can we just start, robbing people? Or that already happens? Is there something that's not going on that we can do that is new? Cannibalism.
Oh, gosh.
No.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what do you think it tastes like? Is it like chicken?
I bet you. So you study giants, right? Like you've talked about the topic a couple of times.
A little bit. I've read a bit about Nephilims here and there.
A little bit more than the average toilet Googler. So I'm going to ask you this question. Did they talk about an end to the giants?
Oh, well, it depends. I suppose you got to go back to the Old Testament, haven't you? It's a very controversial subject. I was watching a debate on Twitter. It was my buddy's podcast. What's it called? Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence? And he had Ken Amy, who we've had on our show, who looks into the subjects of Nephilim, and he also had this guy, this author, called Gary Wayne, who wrote a book called The Genesis 6 Conspiracy, which I read a couple of years ago. And he's for giants. He's sort of arguing for giants using the Bible as the source. And so it's quite a controversial subject as far as like, did they exist? Were they wiped out by the flood, Noah's flood? Did they hang around after that? Because then you've got these stories of Goliath and is it Gog Magog, and it seems to be everywhere, like in all sorts of cultures, like Celtic culture. There's stories of giants as well. So
I was just wondering because I haven't heard any ending on them, and I started to think like if there's one thing that they're like, the government's probably hiding a lot of stuff from us. But I start going, if there's one thing they'd be like probably would change the way of history was if something in our bloodline of like we hunted down the giants and killed them all. And they're like, if people knew about this now, they would just freak the hell out. Or it's that we're cannibals.
I think so. Ken and me would say that the giants were wiped out by Noah's flood, and that's the end of it.
What happens if you're not religious, though?
Well, that's what I was getting at. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It seems that every culture has some sort of cultural memory of giants. I don't know if it's true. There's we had another guest on talking to us about old giant bones found in North America and that were covered up by the Smithsonian, apparently. But again, are they giant bones or were they pachyderm bones? And the guys who found them didn't know what they were looking at. You can always find a more prosaic explanation for this sort of thing.
What's that horse or not horse? What's that bird that's named like kind of like a horse? Is it a shoebill? A shoebill, I think it's called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
It's like a giant looking like pelican thing, but it looks like a dinosaur. And apparently it's the great descendant of a T-Rex. Apparently T-Rex just kind of changed their whole entire adaptation or evolutionary process to get like feathers and a beak. And their beak apparently is so sharp it can slice a crocodile's head off.
Fucking hell.
They look murderous, dude. I think I could pull up a picture on here, but yeah, I think it's called a shoebill. But I was looking at it because I was like, this is exactly what like because they're thinking like especially with what do you call it? The dodo bird, which is like my mascot. They're talking about how like a dodo bird, for instance, actually might have been thinner than we thought. They might have not been heftier. So the idea that English settlers actually hunt them to existence doesn't really make a whole lot of sense now that they start looking into it. But this shoebill, they're talking about like it looks exactly kind of like it's about the size of a dodo bird of what we thought of. And I was like, oh my God, like if this is so here's a picture of it. This little guy. Look at him. He's murderous with his eyes.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, that's terrifying.
But they say that
my word.
This could be a possibility of well, not a possibility, but they think that this descended from a T-Rex because it has like some type of similar genetics that come from, and they think during the evolutionary process it just changed over because it primarily has lived eons in the same exact place, which is why we've never seen one, is because it's like out in like Peru or some like way out there in the desert, kind of not really desert, but more like I would say urban area. I don't know what your definition of urban can be different. Some people think the ghetto's urban. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, I live in an urban area, but urban, I think of farm. But then people are like, no, that's rural. I'm like, what the hell is rural? Rural makes me think of like I'm at a golf course.
Really? Oh no, like over here, rural means like countryside, agricultural communities, and urban would be city centers and town centers, and suburb and would be the areas outside the towns on the outskirts of the city centers.
But but back to the original point of like, if that means we talk about giants, then we got to talk about dragons. Do dragons exist? Then how could people think of that? Or maybe it was psychedelics and people were just seeing reptiles and imagining them to have wings. Does that mean they took psychedelics and imagined giants? But people have found bones of giants.
Some would say that a lot of the mythos over dragons comes from comets.
How do they get a beast out of a comet?
Well, it's just a way of them describing like a flaming ball with a tail coming off it, coming across the sky, and like a serpent. And dragons and serpents, same thing, pretty much. So there was a book I read, John Anthony West. I think it's called Serpent in the Sky. And he was a big expert on Egypt, and he used to talk about this sort of mythology. Graham Hancock's talked about it as far as South America goes. So one of the gods from, is it Aztec or Mayan? I can't remember. But
Probably
he's called
Mayan.
Quetzalcoatl, and it means plumed serpent, feathered serpent, and he would be, represented in their artwork. And you can tie it to sort of a comet snaking through the sky with a tail, fiery tail. Basically, what do we think of a dragon? Something in the air that rains down fire and death. So, I mean, that sounds like pretty much like a comet.
But it inspired a whole fucking TV series called Game of Thrones that people spend every single Sunday trying to watch.
Yeah, or maybe before the last ice age terminated, there were more sort of large lizards other than crocodiles and alligators and Komodo dragons. They're really the only big ones that have survived, haven't they? Maybe the dragon is a cultural memory from 50,000 years ago, when there was all sorts of massive shit like dire wolves and saber-toothed tigers and short-faced cave bears the size of a friggin' truck, and
Isn't the
giant armadillos.
Isn't the short-faced cave bear a reason why people couldn't emulate to another part of the globe, because that thing was keeping them from going over a certain point?
I don't know.
I can look that one up too.
The thing is, I think they're guessing with a lot of this sort of
No shit.
how America was populated and whatnot. It's I think genetic evidence is probably going to be what solves a lot of the issues. It's like I read a book this year, 1492, I think it's called. No, it's before Columbus. What year was Columbus? Columbus was 1492.
1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Ocean blue. It was 20 years before that, so I think the book was called 1472. And he talks about how the Chinese were basically circumnavigating the globe well before Columbus, and dropping people off and dropping colonies off and leaving markers and shipwrecks and all sorts. But like the scale of the fleet, they were called Chinese treasure fleets, and we're talking like tens of thousands of people. Columbus had like 3 tiny ships with a few dozen blokes. That was it. They took like harems of women and all sorts of stonemasons and traders, experts in astronomy and cartography to try and map everything. Oh, I mean, our sort of idea of how, this sort of prevailing idea has been the Bering Land Bridge, hasn't it? That people crossed from.
That's what it is the short-faced cave bear was one of those things that was causing them not to be able to go across that land bridge.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I think they probably sailed. I think there were people sailing to North America and South America before then, to be honest.
It's just so difficult because if you really think about it, they're all different worlds. Like the UK back in that time, and the America back in that time, or wherever you want to say, even if it's like a couple miles away, it's a whole different reality. It's kind of like the movie Year One with Jack Black, where even though they were living as a tribe and living in a thing, and they left and traveled for a little bit, they came across Cain and Abel, who's played by Paul Rudd and David Cross. That's how the real history went. But that was not even that far apart from each other, but it's 2 separate different realities, 2 different time periods. And I think that was like that all the way back in the day. It makes me wish I could take a Polaroid camera back to like way back in the start and just give it to one of them, be like, fucking record history, and then go back, and between all the butthole pictures they probably took, you'll come across some good ones, like, oh shit, he got a picture of like this thing evolving, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? How different the world was. I mean, I think definitely Canada and a lot of North America, and I think most of my country was under an ice sheet about 2 miles thick 15,000 years ago. It's just, it doesn't bear, I mean, it's just, you can't even contemplate what it must have been like.
I saw a picture of an airplane like way back in the day when they first started, and it was like segregated, like as not segregated as in race, but like gender, like all guys sit on one side and all women sit on one side. And then it was like when they first started, so it's a black and white photo. Then it shows like now, and it's a dude with his hat backwards. On the back of his hat, it says, "Show me your butthole." And I'm like, yo, we have really changed as people. Like, if you really think about the times, and in a lot of good ways, but it seems like it's more like divisive than ever. And I think I've been chalking this up to, I think we don't know our origin story. And I think that becomes with all these things that are like, why don't we know if giants exist or not? Why is that still a skeptical theory? Why do we still have people that don't believe that the earth is round, or we have people that believe the earth is flat, or people that believe birds aren't real? It's because there hasn't, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Favorite. That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
It's a good one.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, why are we divided? Well, a divided population's easier to govern, isn't it?
That's what they say. And I just saw a picture. I wish I could share it, but it was like, you know what? I have to, because it's not going to make sense if. But what it was is it was like, it was a black and white photo, but it was like what the TV has. It's a man stabbing somebody, like, black and white shadowy figures stabbing each other. And then it shows like zoomed out. It's the camera, the guy holding the camera, and he goes, "The media only wants you to see this much of it." And then it's like, it's the knife that you see in the TV is actually a dude's foot, and he's actually running because another dude that looks like he was getting stabbed in the TV is actually chasing at him with a knife.
Right.
And it's like they only show you part of the picture, and it's like, oh yeah, here it is, right here.
This sounds right up my alley. It sounds like it's alluding to how the media.
Do you see what I'm seeing right here?
It's not come up yet. Oh, here we are.
See how the TV,
Oh, wow.
and then you see the full pictures. This dude actually has a knife, but it's got that close angle.
Yeah, it's inverted. It's completely, basically the media, that's what that's saying, is that the media can be used to invert reality. And what is actually going on can be flipped. They can flip your perception of it.
So my theory to fix it is either you have to eliminate all outside sources, such as podcasts that talk about news, such as independent journalists, which people go like, and for me, even I think independent journalism is really good. I think someone like you, someone like me that actually gives a shit about the right answers and trying to get the information out there. Like, there are so many people out there talking about, like, nobody's talking about this Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And I'm like, yeah, like, nobody's going to be able to really talk about it because nobody's going to be in that courtroom seeing it. And apparently their excuse is that, well, it's got to be like this because there's giant name people in there. I'm like, yeah, probably the Pope. The Pope
Fuck
is.
him. So what?
That's the thing, is like, you would. Why did they not do that in the Derek Chauvin thing? Why did they not do that in the Kyle Rittenhouse thing? It's because it plays to their fucking narrative, which is a race thing. It's always been spun on the race thing, and it's never been spun on the societal thing. And I think people are really divided on that aspect. And I think when they look at the deeper image, it's not a race factor. It's a societal factor. It's a class factor. It's always been the wealth class versus the poor through thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah. They keep us busy fighting each other about race or sexuality or nationality, or even back to sports teams, religion. Fuck, how many people are divided by religion? Look at Northern Ireland, Catholics and Protestants and all that. And it's all a distraction. It's a distraction from what the main game is. It's to keep us, the have-nots, not concerned with the people who are running the show, the people with the money, the mega bucks and the influence and the power. Because they know if we stop fighting and squabbling amongst each other, it's like bloody politics, left wing, right wing, same fucking bird, and it just keeps you distracted and keeps our eye off what the real problem is.
If you
Bring back the guillotine.
Yeah, right. Public shows of execution for people to enjoy. I mean, they do that with trials, basically. That's all it is. It's a giant fucking show for people to watch, and it's entertaining as hell. I'm not going to say that it's not, but it's just really weird like they're talking about, I don't even think I want to get into the vaccine thing, but another fucking variant pops up called Omicron. And then my first thought is this. My first thought is Futurama with the guy who goes, I am Zurg from planet Omicron Persei 8. I'm like, that's exactly what I thought of. And at this point, it's like, there are so many people like, I'm fucking done. You're like Frieza. You always have a final form. You always have a next level to you every 2 months. And then they have another person that looks exactly like Fauci pop up on screen talking about it. I was like, yeah, because nobody can stand the actual when they see that name pop up. Fucking Fauci. A lot of people are like, fuck you. I'm tired of hearing what, because he's saying like doom, he's doom fearing. He did this in 1993. Carrie Mullis talked about how he used to talk about how if you have HIV, you can infect everyone in your family. You need to quarantine.
I played the clip last night on our podcast because it's been going around social media. This clip during the AIDS crisis of Fauci. It wasn't the Carrie Mullis clip. It was a reporter talking to Fauci. So it was well before that, before 93, during the AIDS crisis, where he's talking about household contacts and little children getting AIDS. You don't have to have intravenous drug use. It's nothing. It's not about sexuality. Anyone in your household. It's just astounding.
Do you think this is like a master working plan? Like I brought up the Illuminati a couple of times. People go, oh, Illuminati. I'm like, I just think it's a group of people. Obviously, it's not just one person. But I think this is like a master puppet work kind of show. And I think what it is that it's just been passed down. Like this is how we've been successful. And if you're going to be taking the reins, don't fucking slip up or everyone's going to notice it. And I think now it's like you got some dude who's like in the Illuminati. He's just doing blow all the time and he can't fucking stop. And he's just like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And then you just see the grandpa come in and go, we've been doing this for hundreds of years and you're fucking it up. He goes, get straight, son, or they're going to notice. And I think like that's where you start to see these slow glimmers of stuff. But like it's just so fucking nuts to me. Where like I'm seeing articles that are like Kamala Harris is not going to be elected president, so they got to look. The Democrats have to look at a nuclear option. Then it's like you're seeing Republican talking points, and you're seeing Democrat talking points. And I'm just sitting there like, did you see what CNN put up? When we're recording this, CNN put up a thing saying that apparently China's banning travel for African American people. And everyone's like, what is this Afro ban? That's what they called it, Afro ban. And I'm like, do you understand? Like, if you really want to talk about the social injustice in the world, in America, the social injustice, go to fucking China and deal with that shit. Because that's where it really is. They'll put them on a poster and they'll make them super, super fucking small so no one else notices that. They did that with Fast and Furious.
They did it with Finn in the new Star Wars film. They shrunk his character down. I can't remember. Finn's the name of the character, isn't it? In the new one of the recent Star Wars film, they made his image really small. I mean, we talked to a guy on our show about the Uyghurs and what's going on with them. The Uyghurs and the Falun Gong practitioners.
So I'm surprised that there's not enough information on that. Everyone doesn't want to talk about it. I'm like, got super interested in that a long time ago with the Uyghur Muslim people that are in camps.
Well, look what happens when people in high profile positions speak out about it. Or similar, or just criticize the Chinese Communist Party in any, you end up like John Cena apologizing in fluent Mandarin.
Yeah.
And we've had it with like sports stars, haven't we, and basketball players and stuff because of the money, because, Nike sells so many shoes in China. Nike, who sponsor the player, will say, fuck, sort this out. You need to apologize now that your words are going to cost us a fortune.
Well, people don't remember is that during that Asian hate movement, it was a lot of people were really upset about it, but they didn't understand the issue that was going on was that China sent 13 tons of human hair over here to the States and we sent it back, and China captured on top of our Asian hate movement. They said, what is this Asian hate? You're racist. And they banned a lot of stuff. And this is what happened. Nike eventually put out a memo asking, hey, are the people that are making our shoes, are they properly getting the money that they should be compensated for? And they called Nike racist and shut it down. The issue is that our companies need to be working with the FBI, the CIA, all these types of corporations when it comes to that national diplomacy of that scale. They didn't know back then. They didn't know how to handle those types of actions that China was banning on them. And then they were like, now they kind of get the gist of it, but they banned the NBA. Here's the weird part is to talk about in an outspoken act, that one basketball player just legally got his last name changed to Freedom. I wonder how China's going to react to that, because China doesn't allow that word to be there. China has manipulated and brainwashed their people to think that freedom means Mad Max scenario. North Korea does the same exact thing. Now, China loves the NBA. They fucking love everything about it. They're one of their biggest endorsers. So if a player is called Freedom on the team and you see that, people are going to be like, I want to look that up. Squid Games, for instance, the people that were apparently Squid Games isn't allowed in China. They just rounded up a bunch of students from different colleges that were putting it on USB drives and shit, like all that. Killed one of them. They put them in a fucking camp, dude. You can't have that outside content there. They are so strict on the amount of content that are in there, even if it's whatever it's created in Korea, it's created wherever it's at. Doesn't matter. They don't recognize that, and they're not going to have that in there. I think people really don't understand. Is like this can lead here, but even before then, if you just look at a government that only has a certain narrative, you should be happy that you can say the things that you can say, do the things that you're able to do, because in some countries people don't have that luxury, man. And I've talked about this before about with the oh my god, the Uyghur Muslim people. There was a girl who logged into a VPN to do some of her schoolwork, and a couple hours later she heard a on her door. She opens it up, and then she's kidnapped basically by these people, sent into a camp. They shave her head and everything. She was in there for like, I think 2 years. And then they go, all right, sorry, you can finally leave now. And she's like, okay. And they go, well, one thing, we got to put you in a medical procedure real quick. And she goes, okay. They put her under. She wakes up. They took her ability to have kids. She was 23 years old, man.
Do you know, I can believe it because I've talked to people about the forced organ harvesting.
Yeah,
that seems to be going on over there. And
well, Josh
yeah,
Rogan, the guy who wrote the book Chaos Under Heaven, all about this type of stuff, he follows me on Twitter. I try to get him on to talk about some of this stuff because it really woke me up. I mean, there was a period about 100, 200 episodes ago where I was losing my shit about China, and now people are doing it now. But I just go, be happy we're not there. If you all these people that want to rave this flag about, oh, I care about people, it's like, yeah, if you really care about the things that you're fighting for, why don't you go to a country where it's actually happening and go see what happens 5 minutes in? They'll fucking do the same shit to you.
Yeah, there is. I'm definitely concerned that we're heading in that direction, especially this social credit system that they have going over there. I can see that coming to the West, being dripped in over the next few years.
It did for a little while. I mean, the mask thing, people calling on other people having more than one person at their house. If you're having a party at your house, it started going that way. And I mean, they're saying now that if you just let them see your browsing history, they can give you a better what is it? Credit score?
It's same with health insurance. So people in the West now are starting wearing these wristbands that monitor your daily exercise and stuff. And if you do your 15 minutes walk a day, we'll give you a discount on your premium. And you're being trained. You're being trained to behave yourself and give away your data. But it's just convenience, isn't it? People will give away so much of their data for the sake of convenience.
Well, okay, so the basketball player's name is Enes Kanter. He says he will change his name to Enes Kanter Freedom and become a U.S. citizen.
Where's he from?
Let's click the article.
Not familiar. I don't follow basketball.
He's an outspoken critic of human rights issues, becomes a U.S. citizen Monday, and legally changed his name to Enes Kanter Freedom, the NBA player told CNN's John Berman. Moving forward, Freedom will be Kanter's last name, and Kanter will be his middle name. Kanter told CNN. Was that okay? I just thought you were playing something on your soundboard, but it was an ad on my fucking site. I just heard it in my ears.
I didn't hear it.
It doesn't say where he's from at all.
But he's not a U.S. citizen.
No, he's taken it. Oh, he's raised in Turkey.
Oh, right. So
he passed his citizenship test and be sworn in as an American citizen at the end of the month. But there's a lot of people that have been speaking out about there's especially the NBA, which is very, very interesting how you don't see a lot of politicians talk about this type of stuff. And if they do, they mostly just spin like a race narrative or a freedom narrative or a country or diplomacy issue that needs to be fixed. But these basketball players are now being relied. It's like having Matthew McConaughey talk about wearing your fucking mask. I don't want to see that from Matthew McConaughey. I also don't want to see my basketball players talk about the amount of concentration camps or types of issues that are going on in China, but they're forced to because no one else is really talking about these types of things. So it's amazing that they're stepping up in that factor. They had stuff where they would change their jerseys or they would hold up a sign talking about these issues that are going on over there. Nobody understands this is something you need to focus on. And we also need to focus on the chocolate industry. Nestle is getting away with a lot of horrible conditions that are happening overseas, man. They got sued for $2.3 billion or something like that, or no, $2.3 million or something in the, what was it, early June? And they just took it to the Supreme Court and paid it off. And the Supreme Court's like, sure. I'm like, they just violated human ethical laws, but you just saw how money can easily, and no one cares because they make their chocolate as long as they can sit down and have their fucking Hershey's bar. They don't give a shit.
Nestle have been, there's been controversy with Nestle for going back decades. I remember when I was a kid watching undercover journalists and stuff going into Nestle and uncovering stuff they were doing, mainly to do with exploiting natural resources, polluting communities, water supplies, all sorts of heinous shit. And the corporations, they don't have a soul. They don't have a conscience. They're there for one reason, and that's to make money for the shareholders at the end of the day.
Maybe it's our fault. Maybe it's the fault of all, like I was saying before, about the individual journalism. So I found one way, actually kind of two ways to fix news. One, you should hold these media accounts more, I guess, accountable for the things that they say. When they get taken to court, they shouldn't be able to say that we're on the same list as entertainment with Fox or with WWE. What happens is you should hold them more accountable for trying to speak the truth, because what happens now is that their audiences that they've built up are all fixed on a certain narrative. I think Tim Pool was who I heard this from. He talked about when he was signed up to work for like MSNBC or one of these news networks, he was going to report like an actual story, and they go, you can't run that. He goes, why can't I run that? He goes, it doesn't fit our audience. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, you're going to stick to what keeps our audience. Our audience doesn't want to branch out to anything else. You stick to the narrative that we built. So that means if a bunch of people during the Rittenhouse thing, for instance, they talked about how the guy got shot when he just had his hands up. They didn't talk about the gun because their audience doesn't care about that. They want to fight that side about this is white supremacy. They don't want to talk about anything else. So you need to hold them more accountable for telling the truth, but also an easier way than just making every news source, I guess, more accountable is the opposite, which is just the fact of eliminate all these outside sources, causing these people, because Joe Rogan has 11 million followers that follow his podcast each episode, basically.
Wow.
CNN has barely 500,000. Fox barely has 400 something thousand. All the news networks all have under 1 million. So if you eliminate all that individual kind of journalism like Joe Rogan or whoever you want to call, maybe people that have just put up a Vice article or something, and you just stick it to the major news networks like the number networks, then that's going to cause more people to tune into them, which is going to be like, well, they can go to someone else, but they only got a couple other number networks to go to. So now we have to be more accountable on telling the truth, or someone's going to call us out on our bullshit. They get away from doing so much. Right now, what they're talking about is that they think that this new COVID variant is because of all the people who are unvaccinated. And I'm like, does that make any fucking sense? Does that make, don't to manipulate or get another variant, don't you have to add something to that motherfucker to make it change? Or it would just be the same thing trying to attack the basic blandness of the thing. Maybe I'm wrong. We're not going to go into it because the whole YouTube thing, but if you have anything to elaborate on, just don't say any names of any drugs or talk about any effectiveness of anything.
No. I'm waiting to see what happens with Omicron.
Omicron. I love that.
The way the media have sort of they're ramping it up. They're ramping the panic up, aren't they?
Yeah, they're trying to find that panic button again, but everyone else is like, I've already came 4 times. I'm not gumming again.
I'll tell you what, I think they will, and I think it'll go back.
Don't say that. Know. I'm not going back. Nobody's going back into a lockdown. I've seen everyone.
Oh, yes, they are.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I wouldn't underestimate the power of fear and the power the media can exert by pumping out fear into people's eyeballs and ear holes hour after hour. Best thing you can do is just stop watching that shit, and stick to independent stuff.
Well, the older grandparents are going to watch it because their basic solidified thought of the news networks are the news networks from back in their day. It's kind of like if you have like a parent with Alzheimer's, they just remember you from whatever stage they remember you. Like I had a grandparent that only remembered you at like 16. Like, oh my God, you look so good. I'm like, I'm in my fucking 20s. Like, what the hell is it? What they're stuck in that memory like a loop. That's what the grandparents are with their news networks, the number networks. Back in their day when that first started coming out, like when those were big things, they were stuff you tune into, always get the right news from them. Now they don't realize the lying and the manipulation behind it. Why is everything sponsored by fucking Pfizer? It's nuts, man. When you see that commercial pop ups, it brought to you by Pfizer. I'm like, so you're saying that they don't have any bias towards them motherfuckers because they're paying them.
And they're so open with it. I was watching. I got a clip. I took the clip for our show, and it was is it NBC? Is it Nora McDonald? She one of the anchors, and she was talking about a certain magic juice that's floating around, and the strapline was there. Brought to you by Pfizer. Clear as day. I mean, can people not see? Can people not see what's going on? Have to be careful, don't we? We probably shouldn't go down this road because I'll get thrown off.
You want to go back to the ancient roots of human history, possibly being cannibals?
Isn't there still cannibals floating around today?
I fucking love your laugh, but your mic didn't pick that up. God damn it.
Why not?
I don't know. It's like it got really quiet when you started laughing. Do you have something adjusted on your mic settings where like outbursts of laughter or spikes of something don't happen? My show is pro laughter.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's at your end. Maybe I just need to turn my I'll just put my fader up a tiny bit.
Okay. I didn't know you had a fader.
Oh God, I've got like 1,000 lights and switches, knobs and dials. I don't know what to do with them.
I'm looking at your room right now and I'm like, I got so many things I need you to film like 30-second clips of and send to me.
Right. I can do that.
We're going to. You're going to be in my film.
Good. It sounds exciting.
What should I call it?
Title of the film?
Yes.
Well, what's the give us the synopsis.
Nope.
Or is that a spoiler? Can we not spoil it?
It's got to be a surprise.
Well, it's hard to come up with a title for a film that you know nothing about.
Picture two hookers in my Cadillac, but they're in the trunk.
Oh my gosh. All right. And is there gaffer tape and a bag of lime and a shovel as well?
Just the shovel. They don't get the luxury of having a lime to snack on.
Lime to snack on. Oh my word. So you must be pretty excited. How many hours? Not how many episodes. How long is it since episode 1 came out?
About 3.5 years.
Wow.
It's been a journey. Imagine how many people I could have fucked in that 3.5 time period if I didn't spend an hour or 10 hours a day podcasting. It's gonna be great if I get like killed or something, because then everyone could be like, I still have the memory of all the thousands of podcasts that he's involved in. But then my parents are gonna be like trying to reminisce of like, I miss my son, and they're gonna be watching the podcast. Be like, he keeps talking about the global elites. Just talk about your feelings. But now it's terrible. There are some segments in here, some episodes. If you go back, I was off my like when I discovered the China shit. I lost my shit.
You ranted. I think it's good. I think it's healthy to have a good rant every now and again, scream into the void.
If there's a science that it keeps away crow's feet, I expect more people to try and do it.
So are you going to retire now?
No, I'm
you good enough? Is that enough podcasts?
A little bit of a break.
Oh yeah, you're going to take a break?
Yeah. I
think you've earned it.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know. People want you to work till you're dead sometimes.
Do you know, work-life balance, it's tricky, isn't it? I'm someone who's completely unmotivated by money or finances. No one got to the deathbed and thinks, oh, I wish I'd just worked a bit harder. Spent more time in the office.
Did anybody? But your journey's different, though. Your journey is like for personal conquest as well, too. Like, I'm surprised that I got to be a guest on your show because you have so many people that talk about so out of the realm things. And I really look at your brain because I think you're the person I like to go to when I want to know about older history. I think I've mentioned even a couple of examples of yours of like, what is it? Damn it. I'm gonna forget it again. The brick, the giant stone pillars we always talk about.
Well, there's loads. Do you mean like the massive stones, the trilithon in Lebanon?
Oh no, Jesus Christ. It's like
They're the gigantic stones that are like 900 tons each.
it's the one we joked about how like maybe that was a way to decipher time in the sky. And then someone was like, but what about time zone? The
Göbekli Tepe,
no,
Turkey. Oh,
the other one.
oh my God. there's
Headstone.
Stonehenge.
Fuck. I did it last time you were on too. On 900, I was talking about it. I said headstone again. Jesus, why do I keep mixing that? Why that? It's like I have too much information in my brain where it just pushes that one word out.
Yeah.
I can envision it. Like if you had me ask me to paint it, I could paint it for you. But then when they go, what do you call it? I'm like, it's that place. What place? I don't know. I fucking forgot. It's like you just painted the whole thing. I'm like, I can't remember the name. Somebody Google it.
Yeah, it's there's loads, absolutely loads of stone circles in the UK. There's one about 40 minutes north of me, quite a famous one in the Lake District. They're everywhere.
Do they know why that they're like that?
I mean, that's sort of astronomy and agriculture is sort of the main sort of theory as why you would erect these stone circles to try and mark out the year. And so that you can sort of measure the year and you'll know when to plant your crops, when to harvest, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the UK is the reason why the phantom time hypothesis doesn't exist.
What's that? Phantom time.
There's a theory, a conspiracy, like much like how the Younger Dryas is a theory, even though people really follow that like to a T. There's a theory out there called the phantom time hypothesis, which is that the Dark Ages never existed because you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've got a book about it. I've not read it though.
Oh, it's basically the ruler of back then. He wanted to rule in the new millennia, which was at 1,000, the year 1,000. So he basically got with the Pope, and the Pope had such a major, like people like we said, time changes so quickly. You understand the Pope was like a god in a way, much like in Egypt, the emperors were gods in a way. And he thought that the king got together with him and they spoke and talked about how he wanted to advance the clock a little bit. So they falsified this fake history of the Dark Ages, which is like King Arthur, all that type of fantasy dragon shit, for 300 years and sped up the clock. And then they think that we're actually not in the year 2021, but we're actually 300 years in the past. We just are getting off the wrong information. But the way that they were able to say that they're kind of the counterpoint to that is that they have old astrological mappings from the UK, from people trying to do star mapping, which is being able to decipher the seas or be able to navigate the seas by using the constellation. And they were able to pull maps out from like 789 AD and be able to say, oh, well, that obviously theory doesn't work because there's this from here and there's this from here. And I'm like, yeah, but you understand the realities thing again. That's a different land. That's a different thing. My buddy is the one who talked about that the UK might have pagan roots and that the reason why he's finding all these things where the Vikings actually might have been there way earlier than they thought by the River Mersey and all that.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about it and tried to bring it to the colleges and try to get people to report on it. And nobody wanted to touch it because nobody wants to talk about their pagan roots. And I'm like, you understand is that the history is even being constructed and narrative and switched around even today. Then there's an article coming out about a month after me and him talked about this on my show. Chris Pope, shout out to him, fucking talking about, oh, the Vikings were actually here earlier than predicted. It's like, well, what the shit? Like, you understand that our kids, if the world makes it that long, are going to have a really fucked up history where they're like, nothing matters. I'm going to dye my hair the rainbow flag. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's very hard to have anything sort of earth shattering change or paradigm shifting change in any field, but history is no different than science or any other field.
They can't even get over the Native American debate, man.
Oh man. What do you mean, sort of for Christopher Columbus again?
Well, Christopher Columbus is basically out of existence now. They changed Christopher Columbus Day to something else now. It's like National Immigration Day or something like that. But the idea that like I had someone bring this point up to me, and it's a good point if you ever get into an argument with someone about the Native American stuff, because they always are like ramped up to 1,000. You're like, you can't just talk them down. This leads into Confucius Institutes where they're indoctrinating students to hate their own country, basically, which is Yuri Bezmenov. spent.
Esmanov.
Yeah, he talked about the KGB protocol for 20 years of decentralizing a generation to causing them to cause of animosity. I played that on the show too. That's fucking intense because everything
Yeah,
he
you can,
says come true.
you can find it on YouTube. Just Google Yuri Bezmenov on YouTube, and there's loads of stuff on there, isn't there?
I do recommend listening to Kerry Mullis' 2-hour interview. His 2-hour interview, he's wearing like a red shirt and he's just sitting in his kitchen talking about everything from like science to Fauci to the NIH all being pieces of shit. Like he was just so like clear in his thinking where he's like, this guy doesn't have a bias in anything. Like his best example I usually use is when he goes, if I tell my mom, I'm a biocellular engineer, scientist, or something like that. When I talk to my mom and tell her not to take Advil for her headache, she still goes to her doctor because she can't look at me more than anything but her son. She goes to my doctor who has a lesser degree than I do and will accept any advice, even if he says rub shit on your forehead, like something like that. And it's just so clear in his way of thinking, but he warns about Anthony Fauci. And it's just like how me and you are podcasting, except it's like looks like a personal interviewer who has like Jerry Seinfeld hair from the Seinfeld show. And he's just talking to him across the table. Like, what do you think about the HIV and AIDS thing? Because he's the one who invented the PCR test. So it's just so normal and bland where it's just so fucking interesting. But so the Native American debate, if somebody says you need to pay reparations or people need to pay reparations to the Native Americans, you just go, which one? And they go, what do you mean, which one? He goes, well, the Apaches were captured by the Comanches. The Comanches were captured by this, and then this and this. And it just leads on and on and on. They're all fucking killing each other. I mean, Bo Burnham, as woke as he might be, and people might say that he's kind of woke. I don't know if you know who he is. He made a special called Inside, which is like he filmed it all by himself for Netflix. It was supposed to capture. Comedian. Yeah, musical comedian. But he talks about it. He goes, it's a song called How the World Works, and it's like him talking about like the world's filled with bees and water and all this type of stuff. And then his sock puppet comes out and he goes, what do you have to say, Socko? And then Socko starts talking and you forget that it's the same person, but the puppet seems like it has a mind of its own, the sock puppet, and starts going like the FBI killed Martin Luther King, and just starts going on these like dark tirades and rants. And he talks about like the Native Americans said you got to it first. Because think about it. We might have genocide or whatever, that type of thing that happened. Who's to say they weren't thinking of the same thing? The only predicament that our countries are all in right now, my country, your whatever, everyone's country, is because they all think that the other person's up to nefarious shit. So we might as well research it too, to make sure that we can keep up with them in case they are. And that causes paranoia to start up. I mean, this is the reason why all these countries are doing these types of things, where they have something with beagles or they have something, everyone's doing it, is because they don't want you to know, but they have to be prepared in case someone else is.
Yeah, it's sort of like an arms race, isn't it? That's what happened in the Cold War with the nuclear arms race. You do worry about this. It's like, I've heard it said with the, because there's been this whole debate over gain of function research over the last year.
Because they changed the definition.
Yeah, but I mean, people on your side of the pond will say, look, we need to be doing this because we know certain other countries will be doing it. And it's exactly what you said. It's such a strange thing, isn't it? Because we're so divided culturally, nationally. Well, why can't we all just get along?
Because when someone ate the apple, it all got fucked.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened.
But bloody serpent.
Here's my thought, is that if you were going to try and make something to predict the next pandemic, and that's what the kind of idea was behind like the lab thing or whatever, and people said it's conspiracy. Now they're blaming the market, by the way. Just want to let you know that little chestnut. They're saying, oh, it came from the market. I'm like, and the market's across the street from the lab. Yeah. Does that not seem like China deflecting onto the market because they don't want you to cancel out their fucking lab? Now you have to cancel the market. So they're like, all right, we can't sell fish, but I can still research my deadly viruses.
Well, no, China are blaming it on you guys. They're saying it came out of Fort Detrick.
Okay, sure.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
And, it was the military games.
We're going to end up probably going to war with China. I'm going to bet it. I'm going to bet it in like the next, and it's going to drag you guys in as well, too. I hope you know that.
Obviously, because we're just like the lapdog, aren't we?
Well, your kind of thing kind of got pulled in as well, too, which is that our second investigation after the first presidential kind of test got sent back inconclusive on if it came from the lab or not. When the WHO investigated, it came back inconclusive. But if you look at every single scientist who was involved in the first investigation, they were all from the United States. So if we would have said we found it did come from there, then China would have been like, hey, guess what? Fuck the US. And you're like, wait, what? And then it's like, oh, they cut off trade to us, but they'll still trade with you guys because nobody else is going to step up against China in that factor. We still want to trade with them. Okay, well, they're just going to cut us out. So then the second investigation was inspired because everybody else's country, your country, all the other countries, Russia and all them were like, we're going to send one of ours with you to do this. So in case we do find something, they can blame us all, but they can't cut us ties with us all. Because then we could easily, you end up being the odd man out instead of being the one that holds all the power. You switch the cards. And that's what they kind of did. And then that's where you're seeing the issues happening right now with the tension. Mostly, I think people are starting to realize how horrible it is over there. And if you haven't been up to what I've been knowing for the past couple of, probably the past year now, this has been going on for a very long time. And the reason why they can get away with it is because they think of it differently. Much how like some people think of family values differently, people can be surprised about what's going on over there. In their eyes, it's not horrible because that's all they've known. The kids, they have a USB drive, and every single USB drive in their schools and everything is Kim Jong-un. It's his fucking mouth. The USB goes right in his mouth. They have a little sticker over the thing, so it looks like they're plugging it into his mouth because they always want you to know this is your God. Don't ever go away from that. And I tell people that will leak here. It will happen. China owns the fucking chessboard. We're all chess people playing on it because they captured the best thing, which is they captured the market, man. They own the control of resources. And we're just kind of thinking more of a, they're going to attack us with these types of troops. It's like, no, they've been slowly invading us.
No, it's all about trade and weaponizing trade. And you've got to keep an eye on, there's a couple of things. The Belt and Road Initiative is one, and the way they're moving into Africa as well, and doing deals with African countries to extract natural resources.
Yeah, because they have diamonds and all that that's over there.
Yeah, and a lot of things that are reliant on technology, that technology is reliant on, like coltan and lithium and rare earth minerals and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's trying to monopolize things through trade. Why, use force when you can sort of use the market for coercion? It's smart. It's good. It works.
It's a long game strategy. I'm surprised. I mean, I think with the lab thing, for instance, it's very weird how we just didn't pick other scientists or other people to observe these caves where this thing possibly could have came from, a bat or something, to make sure that it didn't come from there. But instead, what do? They created a whole new fucking lab to research the exact thing we don't want them to fucking do, which is manipulate viruses and predict the next pandemic.
Well, didn't the US outsource the gain of function research to China when it was banned by Obama?
What happened is that they funded some of the gain of function, which is why Fauci's getting under the thing, which they've said was a lie, and they've doubled down on it. But the NIH, the funny thing is the NIH admits to it. Fauci's still doubling down, which is like, hold on a fucking second, buddy. Your whole support corporation is saying they did it. They did. But here's my thought on it. If someone's already researching into that, it's easier to toss them a little bit of money and say, hey, can we get some of that research since we help fund? That was the thought behind it.
Yeah.
But I think they were also giving us wrong information. And then this is all that happened. I think an accident happened, but nobody talks about, who was it? Bill Gates that recently said something about the chicken pox. Cause there's only smallpox, for instance. And they found, what was that lab they found it in? A vial that said smallpox. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And there was a story of like a couple of years ago, like maybe 5 years ago, same thing. Vial's been found with smallpox. There's only supposed to be 2 samples or something, or 2 places in the world, one in Russia and one in the States.
Yeah.
That have active samples of smallpox. But yeah, it's just cropping up everywhere, isn't it? And wasn't Gates talking about a vaccine or something? Smallpox vaccine.
Yeah, he said that a few years ago, and he was warning about the deadly variation of smallpox. And next thing you know, there's a video where there's a vial that they found that said smallpox.
He's been raising the alarm about bioterrorism, hasn't he? He's been talking about terrorists getting hold of an agent and creating the next pandemic. And this is why we need this global network of, sort of research monitoring to try and.
Imagine if he is like a really good guy. Imagine if Bill Gates is like a really good guy and he's like trying to help us, but he keeps like, it's like Cobra Kai, where every time they would get into arguments was over like a misunderstanding. And that's all this has been like a giant misunderstanding. He's really like, I see, guys, I was on your team the whole time, but it doesn't explain why there was 27 flights of his with Epstein. There's that little chestnut. That's like same thing with Rand Paul. I don't support Rand Paul fully because I still want to know why his neighbor broke or popped one of his lungs. Like I gotta know that before we know.
Yeah, I don't trust Bill Gates at all. With or without the Epstein connection and the Lolita Express, I just think he's a creep.
I found it.
Oh, what have you got?
Toss me over here. Vials labeled smallpox found at vaccine facility in Pennsylvania, CDC says.
Whoops.
Are you hearing what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
I can't stop it.
Oh, no, I can't hear. No, sorry, I can't hear anything other than your voice.
Every time I go and click this freaking
ad, chasing it. You just keep chasing it around.
Why? No, I don't want to see Fauci either.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. Omicron.
Okay, this advertisement's going to pop. It says several vials labeled smallpox have been found at a vaccine research facility in Pennsylvania. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said Tuesday there's no indication that anyone has been exposed to a small number of frozen vials, the CDC says in a statement emailed to CNN. The frozen vials labeled smallpox were incidentally discovered by a laboratory worker while cleaning out a freezer in a faculty that conducts vaccine research in Pennsylvania CDC. Let me just say, have you ever seen Gordon Ramsay when he's cleaning out people's kitchens? Like, this is fucking shit. It's been here for like, that's exactly what that is. Its administration partners and law enforcement are investigating the matter, and the vials content appears intact. The CDC added the laboratory worker who discovered the vials was wearing gloves and a face mask. We will provide further details as they are available. So
he was wearing gloves, so it's probably cool.
I mean, it's not above. I wouldn't have put that above them. If they have a disease like that and they've learned to eradicate it, they're going to hold it for weapon purposes. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to say that. I think people blame this. Like a lot of people say the lab thing is a conspiracy. A lot of people say this. I go, no, it's really just everyone's probably working on it, man. Operation Paperclip was the first gateway to show you that they had biological weaponry for bubonic plague. Hitler had those weapons. That actually is a theory of why a lot of people jumped into the whole fighting against the Nazis, is because they were afraid of. It's so hard to kill a fucking disease like that, as we've seen with this pandemic, whether it's mismanaged or not. It's just a virus or a flu. Besides our bodies naturally going through it and maybe some types of treatments that you could possibly do, I still think that your body, like for me, I don't even take Tylenol. When I get sick, I let my body try and naturally beat it. And guess what? I rarely get fucking sick because I let my body beat every cold naturally to where my immune system is a top priority. And I also take care of myself. But you can't tell me that it's not weird that in the past 36 months of this fucking pandemic, not one person has suggested getting healthy or losing weight. Instead, you've had people eat Shake Shack and offer a free burger if you get your shot. This is a society that doesn't really care about your fucking health. They care about what makes them the most money.
That's only if you listen to the politicians and the mainstream media, though. You know, I've been talking about vitamin D for 18 months now.
Vitamin?
We say vitamin D, not vitamin.
God.
Vitamin D. Yeah,
Vitamin.
I take 4,000 IUs a day. And it's important in the Northern Hemisphere this time of year because you can't make it. The sun's too low in the sky. You're just on fumes. You're using your reserves, what little reserves you have. Well, and it obviously didn't help with like locking people in the houses in the summer. That's not going to help you with your vitamin D.
Do you remember when the pandemic first came out, the Surgeon General coming up on thing and saying that people of color were more likely to get COVID because of it's from the melanin in the skin. It makes it more difficult for the sun to really soak up the vitamin D necessarily to help fight this thing in a lot of cases. But you can't. It's so crazy because it's so generic as a drug that you can't do anything, make any profit off of it. So they're not even talking about it.
No, you can't patent it because it's naturally occurring.
So what they do, they told you to stay inside your fucking house and don't talk to anybody. It's like, well, it's supposed to be the fucking opposite.
Yeah, you're right. You got to go to the alternative to get sort of health advice other than
But people can't trust that. That's the thing, is that it might be like Alex Jones. It might be really good information, but then there's a sliver of it where it's like, then the earth is going to be round. It's like, wait, where is he going with this? Like, he just went from giving us kind of really good advice about the government, which he has warned. He talked about giant Jewish stars in space that were going to be lasers. Did you see the video of the giant laser in space that folds open and it looks exactly like a Jewish star? I was like, he called this 10 years ago. What the fuck?
My God.
The way he
Huge
says things
space
just don't
lasers.
make sense. The ways he says things does not make sense. He says it like the frogs are turning gay, and then it turns out that the phthalates are actually causing frogs to lose their genitalia.
Yeah. He's sort of 50% right in everything, isn't he? But he just goes off the rails.
It's like if you gave a person who's trying to expose secrets a comedic personality.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think people want that from someone who's trying to warn them about like the end of the earth, basically. I wonder when the four horsemen of the apocalypse are coming. He goes, the four horsemen, you mean Ghislaine Maxwell? And then he names off like 3 other people. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Fuck.
Oh my God. Oh, you gotta love him. I don't watch it. I mean, he got completely taken down, didn't he? Last year, was it? Or the year
He's on
before?
InfoWars.
I know, but I mean, that's the only place you can find him. He used to be everywhere, didn't he? And he just got massively, it was a coordinated deplatforming. Because I think that was over the school shooting. Better not talk about it, but
Yeah, well, he just paid that. He just lost his lawsuit with that. So he had to pay all those
heard-
families things.
I heard that last week. Yeah.
Which, I mean, when you really dive into one government conspiracy or one government project, you start finding them all, and then you just go down a rabbit hole of insanity. So then at that point, like there was a point back when I first was doing the show, when I was researching all these government projects, I didn't know about it until I was doing my other show, Fill in the Blank, which was more narrowed and specific topics. And I started coming across like Willowbrook State School, where it was a giant school for basically mentally challenged people, and they were injecting them with like tetanus and all these types of things, just to test on it. And just like you could do with, I don't know, maybe possibly the pandemic.
Yeah. And
Wink,
there's
wink.
what's it, Native American schools as well. Sorry, in Canada. There was there's been a big controversy, hasn't there?
The way you got to look at this is not on a race issue. The way you got to look at this is on what people think is more superior, and it's not a white supremacy thing. It boils down to education. It boils down to so much stuff. I mean, the idea that like there are parents out there that are really against certain types of like, I don't want this kid to have a better education than my kid. And it's like, that's the whole thing about homeschooling. People are so afraid of homeschooling right now. People want to do that because they think they can actually help their kids better than an actual school can teach them. But there are so many parents out there go, well, that parent might teach their kid stuff I don't know. I don't want their kid to have more of an advantage than my kid. Then you get afraid that your kid is not going to be able to survive because another kid is going to beat them because they have a better education than what your education is. It's a competition thing instead of an equal platform thing. So then it boils down to the class issue again. It's not really race. It's a class issue. Whether you're a wealth class who spends hours running their fucking hose while they're inside their house cooking a chicken, and they come back out and then just dabble it over their Corvette. You even get the seats, fucking convertible. You just splash it over. Hey, Miss Parker. You know what I'm talking about from Friday?
Nope.
Oh, of course you haven't seen that.
What's Friday? Is that a film?
It's with Ice Cube.
Oh God.
You remember the giant meme where it goes, you just got knocked the fuck out. You don't know what I'm talking about? Oh my God, I gotta pull that up too.
I'm so detached from bloody media and
People
TV.
would say you're so white. Because that's exactly what people would say. At least people where I live would say that to you.
It's like I've not seen Squid Game. I know everyone wanks on about it and says it's the best thing since sliced bread, but
it's not that good. I like the memes that people do because there's a scene where people are walking on glass and there's like a glass panel to the left and a glass panel to the right. And they're giant pieces of glass and they're over like this giant, like 100-story thing. And they got to like jump on it and you have to guess the correct one. So everyone's going. So it's good to be last. So everyone goes in front of you and you see which one the path to go. And you have to do like 100 of them to get all the way to the ending. Then some dude's like, what happens if you just walk in the middle? And he starts walking in the middle. And then some dude just fucking tries to like follow him and pushes him out of the way and he falls off. I'll play it.
It just looks horribly violent. Maybe I'm just going soft and I don't want to watch anything like that anymore.
It all just boils down to Ghislaine Maxwell, Chris Tucker. He was the one that says you just got knocked the fuck out.
Right.
And Chris Tucker was on the flights as well too.
Yeah, there's a lot of what?
Was it Chris Tucker?
Is this a Mandela effect?
I don't think so.
I think it was Chris Tucker.
Yeah, it was Chris Tucker.
Yeah. There is a meme going around, isn't there, with Ghislaine and Epstein in the middle of the photo, and then it's just got all the heads in the background of all the people who are on the flight logs, you know.
It all started when Nancy Grace came into the mix.
I don't know who that is.
Do I have to pull up Nancy Grace after this too?
I don't know who she is. Is she an actor?
No, she was a giant right-wing news lady. It's on Hancock, the movie with Will Smith. You're not above the law, buddy. This is the Chris Tucker thing. This is Friday.
Oh, you got knocked the fuck out.
You got knocked the fuck out, man. Give me my goddamn money.
That's Debo.
The payback.
He died.
Right.
All right, let's look up Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace. This lady gives me anxiety. When I was a kid, she used to be all over TV. There she is.
Is she alive?
No, I think so.
Yeah.
She's still doing a show? I thought she got fucking the best of Nancy Grace. Oh, everything about her is bad.
What are some of the lessons you've learned?
Come on, advertisements. Can you not blow my eardrums out when I'm doing? I'm sorry.
For you. It's cheap for you.
I feel like and the new terms and services is that we're all going to lose the idea of they're just going to shove ads in our videos. Listen,
your son has been found in your basement.
Oh, she's scary.
Sir?
What?
Mr. Bothell, are you
What?
Yeah, we are getting reports that your son has been found alive in your basement.
What?
Acting.
How could your son be alive in your basement?
What?
I have no idea.
What the fuck am I watching? I don't know. I've never seen this when I was a kid.
Are you telling me, 2 Chainz, that my only 2 choices are to get my child high on pot or get it drunk on booze? How about neither one? How about it not be legal for recreational use? So no, you said you're showing video of a kid.
Calm down, lady.
What you using, Nancy? I can't help. That's all really you got. You using this one example, and I'm trying to tell you that you you just find the whole community.
A problem as successful as you are, as rich as you are, as famous as you are, with this smoking California weed with California whores. Excuse me. I left that one out. Smoking California weed.
I love that shit. I love that shit.
Died.
But you see what I'm talking about? She has this like abrasive kind of, you were there smoking marijuana cigarettes. That's exactly how she talks. It's like Ben Shapiro. When I hear Ben Shapiro, he goes, absolutely fine, absolutely fine, absolutely fine. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, can I get someone who speaks in a normal voice and just
so fast, isn't he? He's so fast.
Yeah, he's a speedy little motherfucker.
Yeah, I've lost track. I don't know. I think I might have downloaded a couple of podcasts he did once, but yeah, he's a bit, I don't know. It's not really my cup of tea, Ben Shapiro.
I think the door went, like, you need those abrasive. That's why Trump was president, is that people wanted to see someone who was against the basic thing that they've always seen. And I think that's because you don't have a lot of that out there. So like, I'm okay with, I don't want to say sprinkle it in every now and again, but I feel like it needs to be done better. But sadly, once you open up that door, the door just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And people want it in everything that they do. I mean, people want to see their fast food workers be philosophers, and they also want to see their news people be fucking rodeo clowns in a sense. I mean, that's all I see now, is that people so blind to the fact they just agree with one narrative. They'll say so many things. Advertisements about Joe Rogan, calling him Dr. Joe Rogan. What did Joe say? What did Joe say? I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about here, man? Like, I can understand him because I think, he tries his best to get things right. I don't think because he doesn't have a bias in anything. I just think we need more people that don't have bias in anything and any types of facts.
But we're all biased, Robbie, are we not?
I don't have anything that I think I'm more biased in.
I don't know. I think that's probably I think it's inevitable to have biases because we're a product of our environment. And we're always going to have biases one way or the other. I think the difference is that you can at least be aware of them and then try and even them out.
What do you think your bias are?
I think whenever you get a new piece of information, you will have a bias on that information based on everything else that you've read or seen or heard before, regardless of whether it's true or not.
You can say that I probably have a bias against China because of the types of harmful things that they do over there. But then I've also reached out to people who work and live in China to talk about their side of the thing. And I've also researched the other side, and I get it. It's about running an effective machine. If I was at the top and you asked me to care about people below me, you think anybody's going to care? I can ask you this question. $50 million of hard work you could earn. So you could earn $50 million using hard work and labor, or I just give you 100 million out front. Which one are you taking?
100 million.
Exactly. You know how many people say $50 million?
None.
A lot. Most of the time people go, well, I worked hard for it. I would know I earned that money. No, but what's the point? You can use that 100 to make even more money. But people think of that hard work aspect. How many people tell you, I did this all by myself? I did all this by myself. People love that self-entrepreneur. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares if you made $50 million of hard work by yourself. You might as well take the 100 million and double up your fucking profits.
Yeah. Well, it depends what your attitude to money is. It's like, as long as my immediate needs are met, I don't really care. So I'll just take the more money and forego the hard work and do something I enjoy doing.
You know what's interesting is I saw Uzi. I think his name's Uzi. I don't know. There's like Uzi Bird. There's Uzi something else. But this guy, he was in a store. He goes, Uzi, can I have $100,000? Uzi's like, stops in the middle, sir. The fuck you want $100,000 for? He goes, I want to finish college. He goes, are you actually going to go to college? Are you going to actually like go through the whole thing? The guy goes, I promise you, like I'm a straight shooter, man. I will go to college if you give me the money to go to college. He goes, I'm going to put you through college, but I want to be there at that graduation. I was like, that's I think what more people need to do with their money. But then more people would expect you to do that. But I just don't put any faith in my celebrities or my comedians to be anyone else than who they're really kind of known for. Like the fact that Dave Chappelle, we talked about in the beginning, was getting attacked in a way. Why did you expect Dave Chappelle to be some type of like, people go, he's pushing against the system? I watched a whole other argument where people are like, good, fuck Dave Chappelle. I watched that whole podcast on that where they were like, everyone says, oh, it's because he's pushing against the system. That's why they support him. Well, there's plenty of comedians doing that. They got a fucking point. There's plenty of comedians doing that. But what I like about Dave Chappelle is that he's been the same person consistently through his whole entire life. Joe Rogan has been basically the same person through the consistency of his whole entire life. There are plenty of good people that I know that have been the consistency of their person their whole entire fucking life. And I think you need more of that. I'm not saying double down. I mean, I could even respect Fauci for being the same consistent narrative, but it's so much of a lie that I don't think he actually believes it. When I look in his eyes, I even called out his handshaking in the first Rand Paul thing. You notice the second one they did? There was no handshake. He was fucking fit as a fiddle. People go, he might have a medical issue. Bullshit. That's a goddamn shake when you're about to get into a fight. It's because he knew he was getting caught in some shit. When I look in his eyes, I see that he's hiding something.
Yeah, there's a good YouTuber, and I can't remember her name now, but she's like a body language expert. And she broke down one of those encounters in the Senate, I guess it was, between Rand Paul and Fauci, and breaks down like his little micro gestures and movements and the tone of his voice and stuff. And it's really fascinating, isn't it? But yeah, I think most people can just sort of use a bit of intuition and spidey senses and see, you know, something's not right here. This guy's, he was panicking. He was definitely panicking.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to almost 1,000 people, and I can tell you that I can tell when someone's feeding me a story. I can also tell that throughout this podcast, when I have cut you off, you've kind of been like, and at the same time, I can also tell that you probably have a lot more to say, but you're just letting me rant and letting me get my things out, which I appreciate. But, I think I can tell, like, especially with the direction of conversation, that just comes from, doing it and talking to people as well, too. And
Well,
I think
it's a lost art because we don't do it anymore, do we?
well, it's
Our,
through phone.
yeah. All our sort of interactions were going back to the Ice Age thing again. Every night people would be talking around the campfire and telling stories and singing songs and talking to the kids and all this sort of thing. But as it's weird. We're more interconnected, but we're more separated at the same time because we don't communicate. And even in our own households, because of the screens that suck your attention, whether it be the telly screen or the iPad screen or the phone screen, we're definitely interacting less verbally.
I definitely
probably not a good thing.
I definitely believe more in the evolutionary and the adaptation aspect of skills and traits being lost and skills and traits being gained depending on the way society goes. I mean, what, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, alpha males were the top aspects of what women wanted, what everyone wanted to like be a star athlete, all these types of things. Now it's people like Bill Gates who just have money, who have this type of technology inner workings, that shift that happened. All these, like, for instance, even our thoughts 5 years ago are probably not the same as the one now. We think things about like jokes differently because, some are going to be kind of like, oh, I don't think like that anymore. Like I was asking my nephew, I was like, what do you want? Like, do you want a blue room? Do you want a red room? Do you want a green room, a yellow room or something, a gender neutral room? That's like a joke. He doesn't know what I'm talking about. He's 3 years old. And, someone in my family just goes, he's a boy. He's going to do that. I'm like, whoa, you're not a progressive parent. And he goes, no, we don't. I was like, you're not a progressive parent. And they were like, no, we don't play that shit. And I was like, what? I was like, I get it. I mean, but I thought they were more progressive than me. And I realized, oh, it's my thoughts have changed because I'm a little bit of a younger generation. I was watching a video on YouTube and it was a kid at a lunch table and another kid yelling at the other kid going, stop yelling at her. She's a Gemini. And he goes, I don't care. I don't care about the Gemini. I don't care. And you start to realize, oh shit, like this is the future generations that are coming up and it's a different ideology. The times are changing. And the evolutionary aspect is our bodies are going to see that as start being the vocal minority, maybe ends up becoming the more norm. And then next thing you know, your body's going to start adapting to those and it's going to start losing traits. So now, for instance, a dad bod being more acceptable than it was back in the day. It's just like how it was in the 1800s or whatever, where you see the old muscular boxer guys with the shirtless and they're out of shape. Then it was really, really ripped. And then now it's back to out of shape again. It's like a cyclical trend. But at the same time, it's the evolutionary aspect of you can build up your society built on strength like hunters back in the day, or you can start building your society up in a different direction. If you open up the door for phones and technology to take away your attention and you lose your communication skill, you lose the type of conversational flow and the empathy that gets expressed through that.
Yeah, definitely. It's use it or lose it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it has to be exercised. It's like a muscle, I think, probably. That's what's good about what we're doing with our podcast. It's sort of trying to keep it alive, really, because so much of it is going digital in the digital age in our interpersonal relationships.
Well, podcasts are dying. That's the thing. Yeah, I have my buddy. He goes, "You're still one of the ones I still listen to from the beginning," and I'm like, "Well, what happened to the other ones?" Every week he's telling me a podcast drops off. Every week.
Really?
I checked the stats on podcasts too. The podcast stats in 2020 skyrocketed by like 2 million something podcasts were created because nobody was doing anything during the pandemic. And then once everyone went back to work, it kept up for a month after everything reopened. And then people started dropping off because they couldn't handle it with going back to work again. Now it's kind of dropped down to an all-time low where I think we're at like 1,500,000 something left a podcast out there, which is still a lot of podcasts if you think about it. At like 2017, there was like 10,000 podcasts. Now there's like 1 million something still out there, but the number keeps dropping every single month, basically by a couple hundred or so, because people just don't feel the need to do it anymore. What's happening now is it's going to Twitch streaming. It's going to reaction videos. It's going to a different form now because that's the new trend of entertainment. That just for me, I'm going to stick it and double down, mostly because I'm too lazy to learn a whole nother fucking thing. And I enjoy doing this so much, but it just takes a new form, man. My buddy's a Twitch streamer. He's been doing it for a couple of years. I didn't know that he was doing that. I saw his channel recently. I was like, oh shit, you're a Twitch streamer. I'll follow you. He listens to my podcast while he Twitch streams. He just, does a video, talks to people, but he has a headphone in and he's listening to a podcast or something like that. I'm like, that's who you're there for. Those people that are doing those things are hitting the new trending, even TikTok. I put a couple clips up of my buddy Adams, which I hate TikTok because it used to be a China-owned app before we bought our data services. They used to sell all our fucking data over to China and capture all our shit. So I would refuse to do it because I was not in support of that. But honestly, aren't we all in support of it if you have a cell phone? But you just got to be acceptable. Be like, I would love the new iPhone that can fucking fold and flip. How many kids died because of it? Fuck it. That's the kind of mindset. But when we TikTok, for instance, I have a couple of my buddies, Adams, his drawings, like my Dr. Manhattan one. Did you see that where I had the blue arms and all that? He had a time lapse of it. I put up on TikTok, dude, like 900 something views in like 3 days. So I go, so it's on TikTok is the new trend thing. That's what my film is. My film is a bunch of random shit every couple of seconds trying to capture that algorithm. So it keeps you like hooked into like, what's the next fucking scene, And it also packs severity with it.
It's so dangerous. I got caught in I think it was a Facebook wormhole the other day because it just showed up this video of like a dog, a Rottweiler doing something stupid. So I watched it and it was like 10 seconds long. And then the next one came and that was funny. And then the next one. Before you know it, you've spent half an hour watching these videos on, I don't know whether it's Facebook or Instagram or what, I don't know, but it's just a time suck. And I kind of secretly hate my phone. If I didn't have the podcast, I wouldn't have any social media at all. That's the only reason I have it.
That's the same for me. I think it's the study in the UK that talked about ladies in the UK getting tics from TikTok. They were getting like severe tics.
Really?
Like actual physical tics. Yeah, it was a UK study. I can pull that up to make sure I'm not.
Fucking hell. Oh my gosh. That's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Well, the weird thing is I did a podcast with my buddy Mark, and I told him, I was like, sorry, man, my brain's going slow. And he's like, what do you mean your brain's going slow? I was like, I just literally spent the past 2 hours on a Facebook reel kick, just watching Facebook reel after Facebook reel after Facebook reel after Facebook reel. And afterwards, my brain feels like how it kind of does right now, where I just kind of woke up and my brain's kind of a little bit foggy. Like my thoughts are still here, my rant's still there, but honestly, I'm not thinking about the words that are coming out of my mouth. It's just coming out. So if I end up saying something crazy, I got to make sure I remember the time code so I can write that down and edit that shit out. But that's exactly what the TikTok thing go. And I start realizing, oh shit, like they're where is it? I'm trying to find November 12th, 2021.
Wow, I didn't hear about this.
This is on the Washington Post too, but if I have to subscribe.
Fake news.
New York Post is fucking fake news too. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Reports of teen developing tick-like behaviors after watching TikTok videos highlight something most of us don't consider about mental health symptoms and can be social. Since March 2020, specialists in the United States, Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom have seen a dramatic spike in young patients seeking treatment for tics. According to the Wall Street Journal, doctors say most of the young people watched content from TikTok creators who say they have Tourette's syndrome, one type of tic disorder. Top TikTokers film themselves involuntary cursing, slapping themselves, making clapping sounds, and more called cumulatively, Tourette's videos have been viewed more than 5 billion times. Some researchers claim that the sudden surge in TikTok tics is a pandemic within a pandemic, as the teens struggle with schoolwork, feelings of isolation, and even bruises and other physical marks from their tics.
Well, what a fantastic name for the app.
You know, it's even that's
TikTok.
How China's taking us over. They're taking us over more in one way. They're doing tics now. You're going to be walking and being like, just walk into a random store, Phil, next time you are in like a grocery store. Like, hey, everyone, smile and jump. I'm doing a TikTok video. And they'll all fucking do it like little lemmings.
Yeah, sheeple. God, that's terrifying. It looks, yeah, so it seems like they're developing like Tourette's from watching TikTok.
I just like want to see somebody driving, you know, when someone used to reach up and go, Charlie Horse, why like they're driving. Because if you try and do it, they're like, you wanted me to crash the car? You're like, fuck you. I don't give a fuck. Crash us right into that tree.
We call it, we don't call it Charlie Horse over here. It's called giving someone a dead leg.
Dead leg. Yeah, that's a good one too.
You do it in the leg, Charlie Horse. You do it in the thigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, dead leg.
So now when someone's doing a random like tick because of the TikTok app, they'll be driving and just turn and slap somebody in the fucking knock somebody out the window. Like in Fast and Furious, the ejectocito just punched someone out the fucking window.
You had an ejector seat on Fast and the Furious.
You don't remember that?
Well, which one? There's been like 20, hasn't there?
It's the second one.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
They keep, I mean, I've only watched them because my buddy's a diehard fan where he just shows up to my house. He's like, we're going to go see Fast and Furious. I was like, I just ate dinner. He's like, we're going to go see Fast and Furious. I bought tickets. That means you're going to owe me $30. I'm like, dude, what?
God. Yeah, it's a lot of money now in the UK to go and watch the pictures. We watched, in fact, the last film I watched was Black Widow. And we watched it at home on Disney, I guess it was. And I think we had to pay like 20 quid or something for it, £20 to watch it at home. Couldn't believe it.
They do $5 movie nights.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't think they do here.
I don't mind going to the movie theaters, but I also it's only good when you have a bunch of people with you. When you're going like one person by yourself, it's kind of just sad where everyone's like, dude, you like more butter on your popcorn? Extra salt too. And then it's like you're fucking sad walking into your theater.
Quietly masturbating on the back row.
I like it because they got recliner seats now. Where I'm like, this is fucking awesome. But I also miss the old school one where you used to have to like find the handicaps section part. And you used to sit in it, and then a guy in a wheelchair pops up and goes, "You're in my seat." Like, pick another seat, bro. It's like only other seat's the fucking aisle. I can't fit in those seats, man. And you're like, I'm sorry, I want the extra leg room. And the guy goes, I wish I could even use my legs. And you're like, that's fucking great, man. Would you like some snow caps? I can offer you that, but I'm not giving up this fucking seat.
Gosh, you're brutal. That's brutal, Robbie.
Every time I really have good memories is with my grandpa when we went to movie theaters when I was little. He'd always just drag me to the movie theaters. Like when my brother was like, because my brother's older. So he'd be like, can you take me to the boardwalk? I want to go hang out with these, my friends or some girls or something. And my grandpa would be like, sure. And then I'm in the back seat, like 12 years old. He's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? He's like, would you like to go see I Am Legend? I'm like, what's I Am Legend? He's like, it's a great movie. And I'm like, rated R movie? He goes, rated R movie. And then we drive up to the movie theater, and then there's the dollar store. So you walk in and get some candy, then you walk into the movie theater. He's the first one that taught me that. He goes, Robbie, best advice I can give you in my life. And I'm like, what's the best advice you can give me in your life? He goes, don't get the snow caps or the chocolate candies. I'm like, but I love the chocolate candies. I was a chunky little kid. I was like, I love the chocolate candies. He goes, listen, get Juji fruits. I'm like, I don't want to be in pain when I'm watching a movie eating candy. Those things they're like Swedish fish. They get stuck in your fucking teeth. They're so hard. You eat one. He goes, just trust me. You burn through your snow caps in the first minute in the previews. But if you get the Juji fruits, they'll last you the whole movie. Dude, I had half a box when I left the fucking movie, and I was eating that for like the next 2 days. Like it was great. He goes, you're picking them out of your teeth and shit. He's like, this is perfect. And he has the best advice, man, throughout my whole entire life. He'd be like, because my grandmom's kind of hunched over. So she's a little bit bent down. So the pots and pans are just pots and pans for decoration now. He tapes Reese's cups into the pots and pans because she won't let him have candy. So like I'll be sitting there like grabbing a pan to go cook eggs or something. I'm like, what the fuck is there a Reese's cup in the thing? He's like, shut up. He's like, shut up. I'm like, I'm gonna.
Oh, that was the Omicron.
That was a good sneak. I'm infected. Eyes are watering. Holy shit.
Great. Just get an anal swab test.
I think I got an anal swab. I think I got one more in me. Hang on.
Oh, go on. Yes. Get it out there. Is that all right now? Do you feel better, love?
I got one more.
Got one more. Yeah, come on.
I feel the left eye twitching hard.
Look to the light. Look at the light. Come on.
Pineapple.
Come on.
Pineapple. All right, it's gone. Why do you look to the light's a good one, but pineapple's even better.
What? I've not heard that one. What? Think of a pineapple.
You just say the word pineapple before you sneeze, and it'll go away.
Oh, it's so you like casting a spell.
Kind of. I think it's just a distraction for your brain.
Okay.
But like I would get get Reese Pieces in the little frying pan. I was making eggs or something, and he'd be like, "Shut up, shut up." I'm like, well, I'm gonna tell her that you have Reese Pieces. He goes, "If you're quiet, I'll give you one." And I'm like, where do you even have all these hidden? Dude, he'll be sitting in his recliner chair watching like John Wayne movies or something. And then he'll open up the drawer and he'll be like, can you get one of the remotes or something? I'll go reach in the drawer like to grab the remotes that are all in this little side little pantry. And I'm like, this shelf looks deeper than it actually like is when I open it up. And I fucking hit it. It's a fake fucking panel, bro. You open it up, it is lined with Snickers bars and Reese's Pieces things. And I just like put it back and I just look over at him. I'm like, hey, have you ever checked his candy drawer? And he's like, what candy drawer? And she goes, I know what his candy drawer is. It's the pantry, right? I'm like, no, I'm talking about, and he'll take one of those things and chuck it at you. And he's like, dude, he's great with it. He bought a freezer for his work shed. He'd be like, I'm gonna go fix the lawnmower. Always the lawnmower's fucking broken. We paid $800 getting that thing fucking fixed for his birthday. And it's like he tries to break it so he can just act like he's working on it. And then he has a giant freezer out there where he has his candy under all the chicken breasts and stuff. Where you go, can you go get the dinner from the back shed? He goes, sure. And he'll go out there for like an hour and a half, like he got lost in the deep freezer. And then he's like finding all his candy that he buys for like Halloween sales and shit and just shoves it in there. Dude, I don't judge him, because what else are you going to do when you're that age? You're in your 70s. Fuck it, man. Live life to the fullest. My grandma was dying of lung cancer and she kept smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, I'm not going to change you. She goes, everyone always gives me shit about still smoking. I'm like, it's kind of dumb that you have an oxygen tank right there. But at the same time, live your life to the fucking fullest. She goes, thank you. She goes, you want one? I'm like, I'll smoke a cigarette with you.
Yeah, live your life on your own terms.
Don't let anybody decide it for you. Like, don't let Fauci decide it for you. Don't let the government try and tell you and scare you into it. That's what scares me, is that when I see someone in the car with a mask on, and then when they get out of the car, they wipe the door handle and they do all this stuff with a wet wipe, and then they throw it away, and then they're like living their whole life like that. I'm like, I hope this, like, we don't know when this is going to end. All these new variants keep popping up. It's like DJ Khaled and another one. You know, there's always another one. I'm like, I'm deathly afraid that you're going to spend your whole life worried about something and you're not ever going to be who you're supposed to be, because now you're stuck on this narrative that someone has put inside of your head.
Yeah, we've sort of had an easy ride for the last few months. We've been sort of just keeping ourselves to ourselves, and because no one else in the world seems to have been noticing that we've pretty much gone back to normal. But it's all changing now this week. They're reintroducing measures this week. Face masks back in shops, and testing people and quarantining people who've got the Omicron.
Well,
you can just see the slippery slope coming back. You know,
they were mandating it. Remember the mandate? And then they dropped that mandate over here because OSHA came out and said this is against worker regulations. You can't mandate this type of thing. So now Biden just suggests it. And I go, for anyone that was thinking that this was going to be law, just understand is that you were that close to your constitutional rights being taken away from you. You think they're going to let it stop there after they've gotten through with it once? Pay attention to your shit. Know your rights. Know your amendments. Know what is constitutional and what's unconstitutional, so you can understand better. People are trying to fight human ethical errors up in other world countries, but they don't even know the human ethical errors that are happening here. The fact that this past couple months alone is the most I've ever seen about human trafficking. But then the one main giant human trafficking case is not available to the audience. And instead they got Juicy Smollett out there about a fake federal charge. And then there's another one out there as well too, which is a new COVID variant, all in the same. There's a full fucking year to have as many court cases as you want on so many different days where there isn't one. And you have all this shit happen on the same exact day as this trial starts. The only good part is this thing is 6 fucking weeks long. They said it's going to take 6 fucking weeks, and not a single minute of it is broadcasted.
It's just a coincidence, Robbie. I think you're looking into this too. It's just a coincidence that this trial happens to be happening now.
The only coincidence is how we're all getting fucked at once.
Yeah, with the anal swab test.
God damn it.
I concur.
Yeah. I don't even shove Q-tips in my ear. You think I'm gonna let you shove one up my fucking nose?
Well, that's what they did. That was China again, wasn't it? It was the US diplomats. The US diplomats complained that they were subjected to anal swab tests.
Oh God. They came out with a well, that's how they would check if a person was raped or not.
Oh God.
They would scan for semen by the. Yeah, there was that murderer who was like killing people and then having sex with the dead bodies. And the reason why they found out that the person, how they were having sex with the dead bodies, was that they swabbed the butthole and found that there was semen in there. So he must have came in after the body had been decomposed by the time they clarified that she was dead.
Did you hear this story in the UK like 2 weeks ago about the guy who worked at a hospital?
What?
There's a chat. I can't remember his name now. He's been arrested for 2 murders in the 1980s because I think someone related to him did like some DNA test for some website or whatever. So they've tied him to these 2 murders in the 80s. So the police go around to arrest him, and they start searching his house, and they just keep finding hard drives after hard drive after hard drive, over 200 storage boxes of basically him playing with dead bodies. And it turns out it was an electrician who worked for a hospital, and he'd worked for 2 hospital trusts. And over a period of years, up until this year, he'd been molesting dead bodies, at least 200.
There was another, I think it was a few years back, they found a guy who was having sex with corpses because he had a disease that you only get from coming into contact with dead bodies. And he didn't work at a morgue or anything. And the disease was located to his like lower region. So they were like, you must have been fucking the dead bodies. Like they have a specific disease that's named, and there's only like, I think there's one of a couple ways you can get it, but the most common case is eating brain spinal tissue. And it's named after something. And it's like the same reason how they found mad cow disease.
Oh, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease.
Yeah, that's what it is. Is it Jakoff disease?
Yeah, well, I think it's pronounced Yakov.
Yeah, Yakov.
DJD,
Jakoff disease. I was like, that doesn't.
Yeah, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease.
Yeah. Is it Cruxfeld?
Yeah, I think I don't know how it's pronounced. I've always heard it pronounced Creutzfeldt-Jakob.
But it's just weird cases. I mean, the weirdest thing I've ever heard scientifically that's ever happened was a lady that was inseminated by a knife.
Oh,
she was walking in an alley and someone stabbed her in the slower. Here's the weird thing. She was born without a vagina. She has a rare disorder. She has no vagina. I will pull this article up. I think I've done this before on the show. It's stab victim impregnated by knife.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, oral sex, a knife fight, and then pregnancy.
It's like Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah, but at some point, you gotta be like, all right, is this fucking real? But it is. February 3rd, 2010, a strange tale of oral sex and knife fight and the most unlikely of pregnancies recently brought to light by the blogosphere has doctors touting the triumphant persistence of sperm. In 1988, a 15-year-old girl living in a small southern African nation of you want me to read this as Ben Shapiro?
Yeah.
Came to local doctors with all symptoms of a woman in labor. But the doctors were quickly puzzled because upon examination, she didn't have a vagina. Inspection of the vulva showed no vagina, only a shallow skin dimple. So doctors believed a healthy baby boy via cesarean. The authors wrote in a case report published in the British Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Her birth defect called Mullerian agenesis or Mayer-Rotkany-Kuster-Hauser syndrome didn't necessarily surprise doctors, but her pregnancy did. Yet by looking at her records of the hospital, realized the young woman was in the hospital 278 days earlier with a knife wound to her stomach. The average pregnancy lasts 280 days. After interviews, they gathered that just before she was stabbed in the abdomen, she had practiced fellatio with her new boyfriend and was caught in the act by her former lover. The fight with knife. So came on the stomach and the knife went through her stomach, and then it brought the semen in, and the semen always goes towards the egg like a magnet, and it fucking persisted through.
That is bonkers.
Mm.
That's absolutely bonkers. God.
It's about as crazy as the Conceptual Penis Project.
Enlighten me.
There's a doctor, Pierre Corey, and some other dude who was on Joe Rogan. They made a fake study to show that institutions don't even read the articles anymore. I think me and you talked about the dogs.
It wasn't Pierre Corey. It's Helen Pluckrose,
So you know what I'm talking about.
Guys. Yeah, the fake studies. Yeah, sociological studies.
Yeah, we talked about the dogs humping in a park and everything like that before. But they did
Yeah,
another one.
dog rape.
Yeah, but we did another one about the misconceptional penis study, or the conceptional penis study, which was that penis, for instance, is a man sitting with his legs open is akin to raping the air around him. And then eventually it leads into that the penis is eventually causing global warming. So
of course.
Yeah, and it's just a construct of societal functions. It doesn't base anything in reality, and it's not anatomically correct. And it's like, okay. But that just shows you how crazy the fucking world is, man. And maybe it's crazy because the events that go on around us, the world's fucking nuts, man. Not just society, but the world has so much craziness to it. Like just interesting anomalies of time that just keep you fathoming. I think all the excuses that people make and all the solutions and ideas that people come through is just helping them get through to the fucking next day.
Yeah, it is a crazy world we're living in. This is why I just want to get away sometimes. Yeah. I'm sort of attracted to the cabin in the woods lifestyle.
I prefer a timeshare in Tahiti.
Yeah, I can see the attraction to that. Less foraging, a warmer climate.
Shitting in the ocean and not having to wipe.
It's the thing that things seem to be getting crazier as well. It's like, stop, I want to get off. Can we not just calm down a bit?
Just pull the cord and then.
Yeah. I'll just, yeah.
Do you think God has a reset button if it gets too far?
Yeah, it's called the flood, isn't it?
Yeah, just fucking kill everybody. I hope when China finally wins, like right at that last moment when it's about the Red Dawn at all, that Mount St. Helens or whatever, Göbekli Tepe, whatever you want to call it, whatever that volcano is, it's supposed to explode, just explodes, and the whole world gets fucking sent back to like the glacier period or some shit.
Yeah, the what's the one in Yellowstone super volcano?
I guess, yeah, that would be.
That's the big one, isn't it? That's the big one. If that goes, that'll be a planet killer. Or a civilization killer.
Just needs a good Earth reset.
Yeah, that's why you have to go into Hollow Earth. That's what we'll have to do. We'll have to go and live underground if that happens.
If it does go back to the Arctic age, I hate the fucking cold. I can't. I'll be like, just let me die. Let me come back as a Spartan.
Hey, we had Steve on. Steve Whitehead.
I know, and yeah, Mark too.
Yeah.
Good people.
Excellent, yeah.
They're going to be in my film as well too.
Cool.
And you're going to be in it.
Even better.
And we're about to wrap it so I can get some filming parts from you.
Yeah, whatever you want. I'll be a bitch.
Can you believe it? When was your first episode appearance on?
Oh gosh, I've no idea. I think it was maybe was it in the 400s?
I can look it up.
Can you?
All you got to do is type in Out of the Blank
Magic
podcast.
Are you binging it?
Amish Phil. You gave me a fake last name, you son of a bitch. When you're first on, you said my name's Phil Smith. No, it's not. No, it's not. I knew it when you said it to me, but I don't care. Our relationship has developed so much from there. You were on episode 490.
Hey, I was right. I thought I said 400s.
490 was when we talked about Mortal Kombat, my idea of having kids and just having them come and fight me every single year. And then 780. Well, you were on more than that, I think. I think it's only showing me a couple of them. You see, you're on episode 900, Almost Millennium, Out of the Blank, 852, 7. Oh, no, that's not you. 852, Machine Powered Species, 490 something. And then I think we got, I think it looks like you only been on 4 times, Phil. You've been on more than that.
No,
785 is Gone Amish. That's a good title for a fucking thing. Oh yeah, 682. Take Me to Your Farm.
Oh right, the Amish farm.
We've been through a lot, man. See, that 490 came out July 19th, 2020.
Wow, so that's over a year ago.
Yeah, a little bit over a year. I'm sure I knew you a lot longer than that. It's just when we first got to sit down and do a fucking episode.
Maybe.
I'm gonna change all the titles of these shows. They're all gonna go just your names.
That's gotta be like what, 10 hours maybe?
Dude, if I count up all the hours I've done podcasting, I've probably done a year full of just podcasting.
Well, it's got to be what, 1,500 hours, maybe roughly.
Easy. I mean, if they made a clone, 100%, there's a clone out there that could just base all my content. I mean, you got to think an hour to 2 hour. This is about to be a 2 hour episode. So you got to think how many episodes of those I do a day. That's an hour to 2 hours, plus maybe a couple that are scattered out there that are 50 minutes, 55 minutes, depending on time consumption. Doing that for 3.5 years to total up 1,000 episodes, then just what, a full 24 easily. I have a full year of just like you could listen to my content for that long. Like it's going to be interesting if I take a break, I could literally take a break and just people would still be listening to my content for a full year before I come back.
It's nuts. What made you start?
What made me start?
What made you start to what made you decide to do it so hardcore every day?
There was a point where I was only releasing them like once every couple of weeks because I was doing them in person. So it was very difficult to just like, I would meet a random person and be like, hey, want to come to my house and podcast? But I was reaching through people I never talked to through school. And then I would just have them over my house to sit down and do it in person. And then around 90, I got introduced to this guy named Michael Simons. Very good dude. He introduced me to Zoom. And then me and him did a couple of podcasts. I think his podcast is Podcasting After Dark. Wait, no, it's not Podcasting After Dark. It's my buddy Corey's podcast. I think his was the After Dark Project. That's what it was, the After Dark Project. And we talked about like Bigfoot and all this UFO type stuff. He was the first one that was interested in those Tic Tac videos when they were coming out. And he kind of taught me the ropes. And then from there, I was recording so many episodes with just meeting people through Instagram and stuff that I had like 50 saved on my computer. I was like, I got to start doing one a day. And then I think there's probably 2 days out of this whole entire career or pathway, I would say, where I probably did 2 episodes in one day. And I think that was because one of those episodes was like 30 minutes long, which it's very rare that it happens, but it's mostly when people conflate the idea of interview and conversation.
Right. Yeah.
You just got to come up here and be like, I'm not expecting personalized questions. I'm just expecting a conversation and it goes where it goes, which I think now you have a full record of 1,000-something episodes to listen to. And whenever you reach out to a guest, it's always funny when they go, where can I find it? I'm like, fucking Google it, man. Like, you're a goddamn researcher in the you have a PhD. What do you mean? Where do I find them? Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Have you had any like really awkward moments over the last 1,000 odd episodes?
I had an episode where I got into an argument with a comedian.
All right.
Giant circular Harry Potter glasses. And that kind of just lets you know what political side they're on. So far progressive, it's Antifa basically, like people that would beat you in the head with a frying pan if they had the chance. And they said that comedy should never punch down. I was like, comedy can punch any direction it wants as long as it's funny. And then she was crapping on Dave Chappelle, and she was a stand-up comic. And then she was like, I don't like statistics. And I'm like, why don't you like statistics? And then she rattled off something. I'm like, what you just said was a fucking statistic. And she goes, so? And I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about, man? Like, I'm sorry. Towards the point when I was releasing the episode, they maybe edit out something that they said. And then
did they?
Which I did because I was just like, I got to post an episode. There was a point where I think I was posting episodes because I always wanted to keep up that daily thing. Now I think after this 1,000, I might still do the daily thing, but I also am not going to kill myself with it. I want to just have fun and just get a better conversation. Like me and you chatting for 2 hours is good once every couple of days or something. You know, I think people enjoy that more.
How many episodes have you had to bin? How many haven't been able to release?
I got about 8 saved on my computer that are just throughout the 1,000, couple in the first couple hundred, mostly people bailing out last minute and then trying to attack me like I was an enemy. Because what happens is if you tell people no, it's going to go up, they immediately go, oh my God. Like I've had people reach out to me saying, can you take my episode down? And I'm like, why? Like I'm trying to get a new job, especially if you haven't talked to me in a fucking year. You haven't talked to me in a year, asking me to take an episode down. I just don't answer. I just fucking ghost them. But most of the time, if you're really apologetic and we still do talk and you really don't want an episode up, I can blur you out, but I'm not gonna like, I've only had to change one person's name on my show. That's it.
Wow.
This is secret info. I haven't told anybody this shit.
Well, this is interesting. This is cancel culture at work, you see, isn't it?
Well, people, when they can't, like, when you're trying to see, like, I want this YouTube video taken down, all it says is, well, you can ask the creator to take it down because it doesn't violate our terms. So that means you better buddy up to the person you haven't talked to in a fucking year and a half. And then when they try and do that, I just fucking ignored it. And then, there's no point. Like, what the fuck? I never put anybody in a position where it would affect you getting a job. But people just, I don't know. I guess it's an aspect of they just don't have control of what that is. So if they can't ask you nicely and you don't answer, then they have to attack you. And I mean, there's been moments in that throughout the podcast where people have just like tried to like cancel me, but you have to have really a actual like giant platform to be canceled. You know what I mean?
I guess then overall, this experience, would you say it's been overwhelmingly positive with just a few sort of bad marks here and there?
It's definitely nice that I have all that content out there because I feel like there's definitely someone who's really appreciated it. I've got the positive messages from it, but I also just enjoy the people I've met through it, like yourself. I mean, relationship wise, I know I was pissing you off earlier. I was like, really 3 fucking because it's already 5, almost o'clock here, man, in the afternoon. That is bedtime. That is dinner.
Oh yeah, because you work fucked up shifts, don't you? You get up super early.
1 o'clock. But like I said, once we start going, as long as it doesn't start too late, like we just ramble. I mean, we've been talking for 2 hours, dude. Like and I think what's really important that I also look back is that I've talked about this film so much. I just hope people actually like it when it comes out. I just don't put your expectations up too high. It's my fucking brain on drugs, basically. But the amount of people I've asked to do stuff to, I've had 2 people say no, but everyone else, like the 60 something people involved in it, are all like, don't even tell me anymore. I'm in, because they know me and they trust me, even if it's their first appearance. You just see I'm not a bad fucking dude. And I think there needs to be more of that out there. I could tell you're not a bad person. I could tell a lot of people aren't a bad person. I've had one bad person on my show, and it was a person who was lying. And I knew he was lying to my fucking face about shit. And I didn't say a single goddamn word, but you could sense, I'll have to send you that episode, but you'll see my face like start to be like, yeah, I just want to call you out on it so bad. But I wouldn't do that because I'm not out here to embarrass people. I'm not out here to do that. I want you to use your real name. I want you to be you. And I just want you, if you don't say anything crazy. So it's not bad if you don't use your real name. I can understand that. But people want to say shit that they don't necessarily believe in, all in an aspect of they can because they're not using their face or their name. But you ask someone to say, hey, it's video. Hey, it's audio. Watch how quickly they turn around.
Yeah. It's self-censorship, isn't it? I can understand it though, because it's a job over stuff they've said. And what, might not be cancelable today might be 3 or 4 years from now. It's such a weird time that we're living in. I'm lucky because I'm uncancelable. I'm self-employed, so I'm unsackable in that regard.
Can I work for you?
No.
Fuck no.
Sorry, I'm sort of quite. I'm sort of realizing now I'm a bit low energy tonight because this is my third. This is gonna sound like I'm gonna sound like a pussy to you because you podcast every day, but this is my third in 3 days, and I'm sort of struggling a bit.
That's fine, man. I mean, I get it. I get burned out by stuff too. Today was just gonna be my day off, but I did 4 hours of cardio this morning, and then I took the biggest nap of my entire life. I drooled all over my fucking self, man. Jeez, I haven't slept like that in a long time. And I had a really intense dream that was felt like it lasted, like it was over in a second, but my phone woke me up.
Right.
I got a call that was silenced by a number, and I called it. And when I called it, it was the Ghislaine trial thing.
Or like a reminder.
No, because I called the original number because you can call in. The press could call in. They just couldn't take videos. So someone put the code up online and I typed it in and said the code is invalid. And the number called me back 8 hours after the trial was supposed to start. It was supposed to start at like 8:30. Then it got moved to like 10. And then eventually I was just like, I'm not fucking, it's not going to let me watch it. All these videos are fake. There's so many links that were fake. So I called the number. It didn't work. And then I got a call from it and they said, hi. You wanted to be inside this conference code or call, please enter your passcode. And I'm like, I think I'll play it on fucking air. Let's hear these bitches.
It's wild.
Welcome to the conferencing center. At any time during this message, please enter your passcode followed by the pound sign.
And then I type in the one that was on the site and it just fucking, it doesn't work. So I guess they must have changed the code because someone leaked it out there for the world to hear. And it's just surprising how they're keeping it so fucking quiet.
I hope someone's getting it. And then gonna. Would it be against the law to sort of publish it if you got a recording of it? Do you think?
The judge banned video but allowed audio, so you could record like separately in the thing.
Right.
But I'm sorry, Twitter. I just saw a Twitter space that says, "Is UFOlogy becoming an intelligence program?" I'm like, fucking. Good luck winning that fight.
Project Bluebeam.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're gonna put live updates about it and stuff like that too. But it's supposed to last 6 fucking weeks. So I was like, I'm gonna spend. I literally put up a comment on the video. I was like, I'm retired. I can fucking do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm retired. I'll watch all fucking 6 weeks. But when there's no video with it, as long as if you're not driving, if you're sitting in your house just listening to it, it's just so hard to pay attention to the full thing. You need to see people move around. You need to see that type of thing. But apparently A-list people are going in there, so they don't want to have video on that. So the judge is like, all right, we'll just have audio, and they just don't talk. But I don't know. It's fucking sketchy. The world's shit.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it all.
But you know what's not shit is the Amish Inquisition podcast. It's the greatest podcast known to man. It helps you challenge the minds of Göbekli Tepe and the Amazons. I don't know where I was going with that. My brain just gave up on me on that one.
It's good. I appreciate the attempt.
Amish Inquisition podcast. You can find them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch TV, all your social media platforms.
We just started that. We just started Twitch.
I watch your videos when they come out.
Oh, really? I'm glad someone does.
I comment. Do you not read my comments?
On Twitch?
Yes.
No.
You do like a multiple screen share because I was trying to contact you when that one time you didn't have audio on your videos, and I was fucking sending you messages and lighting up your phone, calling you and shit.
This is it. Like my next thing, I need a new machine. This laptop isn't cutting it. It won't do like multiple programs and windows and stuff. I can't even have Chrome open while we're podcasting because it'll just crash and die.
Yeah, mine is.
So I need a new machine so that I can, you know, like these Twitch streamers where they have the chat box come up on the screen and everything else. And that's what I need. I need to spend like 1,500 quid on a serious machine that can do all this multitasking with OBS. And
that's what I'm doing when I'm done with my break. I'm revamping this whole studio.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. I'm going to have my TV on the wall, my computer, and my desk up there. I have a fucking couch in here I don't use. This is a fucking window right here. I barely have enough space to back up my chair. So I'm going to make it comfortable as hell so I can keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Excellent.
Okay. We're going to end it because I need you to record your lines.
Okay.
God bless everyone.
Bye.
Ja rules. Making treaties in the Middle East. Peace in the Middle East. I don't know.